French Alps are normally bathed in sunshine around this time of the year, but the rain keeps falling as the tour continues. Hello again and welcome to our coverage. I'm standing on the roof of Europe, but the winner of today's stage may be excused for feeling on top of the world when he crosses the finish line here at Les Arcs, around 2,000 metres above sea level. But it's the unseasonal cool, wet conditions which continues to be a talking point, and riders may even see snow as they make their way over the higher peaks during the next 2 or 3 days. Today's stage is going to be tough. The last 10 kilometres in particular, very steep. We drove it this morning, and let me assure you, it's like that. Last night, though, we spoke to Neil Stephens and asked him about his team's chances.
Well, we have 2 chances to win the Tour de France, but I think what would be a mistake to do is just to ride against Miguel Indurain. There's other guys here. There's Bjorn Ries, there's Eugenie Vercin, and there's a few other guys that are potentials to win the Tour de France. The thing about this year, I suppose, is there's been a lot of slower stages. I think because of the wind and so forth, it's been, a lot of people have commented it's been a lot slower than other years. For us, that's beneficial because we want to get to the Alps with as much energy as we can, and then because that's basically where the Tour de France is going to be decided between the Alps stage and the Pyrenees stages. But it's been quite a slow Tour de France, and the weather really hasn't been good to us. But anyway, but for the Ascent team and for the people that are riding for the general classification, this is where the Tour de France really starts. Patrick's been going really well over the last couple of months, and in the Tour de France, basically we haven't seen what he can do. When we get to the mountain stages, he'll go a lot stronger. But I think what everyone has to realise is Patrick is going really well, but he may be limited somewhat into what he can do over the next couple of weeks, because he'll be basically having to work for our team leaders, and that's just part of the job that he's got to do here in the Tour de France.
And the rollout this morning in more poor weather as the 166 survivors leave Chambery en route for the Alpine Giants, which for years have romanticised this unique challenge. The route to Les Arcs will test everyone. The 2,000 metres climb of the Col de la Madeleine, then follows the Cormet de Roselend, and the day ends at the 1,700 metre summit of Les Arcs. And as the riders head towards those climbs, the rain has again started to fall very heavily indeed, and the rumour on the street here is that the temperature on the mountains has now plummeted to 5 degrees Celsius, and the rain there has turned to snow. Well, the Tour de France goes on whatever the weather, but one thing now is certain: today we are going to see quite a reshuffle in the pack. Stefan Erlo will be challenged, possibly by the Italian climber Mariano Piccoli in 2nd place. The other pretenders to Miguel Indurain's crown: Alex Zülle, Laurent Jalabert, Evgeny Berzin. Also Abraham Alano, he must ride well today. And Chris Boardman. Chris will know by tonight if he is to remain a challenger or not. Others too to note, men like Tony Rominger, Richard Virenque. They will need to climb to fresh heights. And the riders getting off to a very nippy start this morning. No doubt they wanted to get warm pretty quickly. The average speed was well up when they arrived at Bourneuf for the first sprint at 29 kilometres. Eric Zabel, trying to build up some points in that green jersey competition, was the winner, ahead of the Dane Bo Hamburger and the Frenchman Thierry Gouvenou.
And still bad weather reigning over the Tour de France. Unfortunately for the riders, the snow which had been promised doesn't seem to have materialised over the summits, but still very cold with lows of 2 degrees Celsius. The riders may well get a chance to warm up during the valleys, because temperatures there are expected to go as high as 20 degrees Celsius, but cloudy for most of the day.
And Chris Boardman, a real big test for Chris today. Remember, this is his 3rd Tour de France. He has never been in the mountains yet. When the riders got on to the long climb of the Col de Madeleine, that was when the first leaders broke away. They built a leading group of some 35 riders. It included the yellow jersey, albeit briefly, of Stefan Erlo, but Chris Boardman was left behind by some 50 seconds. Even more sensational news was that Laurent Jalabert was dropped by the group, and he was halfway up the climb, 1 minute and 25 seconds back. Needless to say, Miguel Indurain was in the front group, so too Alex Zülle, Evgeny Berzin and Richard Virenque. When they got to the top, it was Richard Virenque who went over in 1st place. 2nd was Indurain, 3rd was Alex Zülle. The yellow jersey of Stefan Erlo, he came over at 1 minute 34 back. Chris Boardman came over in a group of riders 3 minutes behind. And Laurent Jalabert, with 2 Ascent men around him, he went over the top, a massive 4 minutes 26 seconds behind. And the dangers of the descent in these atrocious conditions. A crash here. Valentino Foix, riding his very first Tour de France, has gone off and down that grass slope. Happily, he seems okay, and he's making his way safely back up to the road. He was in the lead group, actually, over the top. He's a little bit of chasing to do now. And now we're on the climb here of the Cormet de Roselend. And Miguel Indurain, and on his right shoulder, Alex Zula. These are the survivors of their teams, because everybody else has fallen back now. About 18 riders in this very select group. And indeed, the rider in white there is the newcomer to the Tour de France, just behind Indurain, Peter Luttenberger, won the Tour of Switzerland. Ahead of these riders, we have Udo Boltz, who has set the pace all the way up the Cormet de Roselend today. And behind him, Laurent Dufaux. They're not very far in front of this group, but a long way behind this group now is Laurent Jalabert by about 4.5 minutes. And I'm sorry to say that Chris Boardman even further than that. Boardman, in fact, did get back after a chase of 60 kilometres, but then he fell back again.
In fact, only one team very well represented in this group, and that's the team of Tony Rominger. Mapei GB have got 3 riders. We're just looking at 2 of them here. The new Spanish champion, Fernandez Gines, and just in front of him, Abraham Olano. But earlier on, Miguel Indurain had 5 teammates in here. He's used them up, as he has done all over these last years in the Tour de France, very, very consistently. But now he's completely alone and has to do all the work himself.
The champion of Denmark, number 21 in that white cross, Bjarne Riis, he did attack, and then he was told to wait for the group by his team manager. And then after he came back into the group, Udo Boltz went out in front. First of all with the Australian Patrick Jonker and Alberto Elli, and then as the climb began in earnest, Boltz went on his own, and the other 2 came back to this group. Dufaux also attacked. He's somewhere between this group and Udo Boltz. And Gines here would like a word with his team car.
Another man having a hard time today as we go past the 1 kilometre banner is number 81, Johan Brunel. He's been on and off the back of this group all the way up this climb. He really has been suffering. The man that last year rode for the Once squad has got back into the group, but it's going to be a very hard climb up here to the finish in Les Arcs.
Indurain, sorry Paul, Indurain there sitting at the front, always setting out the rhythm. We've had one very strong attack by Alex Zula, but it was Pyotr Ugrumov and Indurain who reeled him back in almost immediately.
Basically, for the moment, all the main leaders for the overall standings in the Tour de France are here. Evgeny Berzin is still in this group. We haven't seen a lot of him, but he's sitting in there comfortably. Ugrumov is there. Alex Zula, quite comfortable. Also, Tony Rominger. They haven't done a great deal. They've left a lot of the work up to Miguel Indurain. In fact, this looks like Riis who's going off the front now.
Well, he must have very quickly put on his racing cape. In fact, that's what he was signalling for, and now he's attacked at the same time. The yellow jersey, Stefan Erlo, is in trouble. I think he has cramp, but he has completely hit the wall. He tried so hard. He came back after the descent of the Col de la Madeleine, and now he's hung on a long way up this mountain. In the last kilometre, he has slipped off the back of this group.
He's had a hard time, definitely. He did a great job coming back into the Miguel Indurain group as we come up to the top there. Richard Virenque accelerates to come over the top and try and get maximum points again. He will be the king of the mountain tonight, most certainly.
And talking of the King of the Mountains, in the very first kilometres this morning, the man who led in the King of the Mountains, Leon van Bon, after yesterday's stage, he went and abandoned the race. He's one of a number of riders who've given up today, and now Stefan Erlo has tried to his absolute maximum, and this is a very sad sight indeed. This man, 110% for effort, but it hasn't been good enough today. And so as we return to the leader on the road of the Tour de France today, and with the race leader in tears, and I think about to abandon the race in severe pain with his right knee. A very, very sad sight indeed, because this man has given just about everything to defend that maillot jaune in the Tour de France today. The field are on the descent. Indurain, Alex Zula and Tony Rominger, Evgeny Berzin are in the chase group. And so, as the riders now start their descent and head towards the last climb of the day, let's join Gary Imlach with his look back at the Tour so far.
Holland, land of indoor starts and outdoor toilets. A clever Dutch invention to save you having to lock your bike while you go. And as the rain came down for the second year running, the tour organisers made sure to protect the people who matter most. The invited VIPs who got a roof over their heads, a drink in their hands, and a side order of the world's best cyclists as part of a 200 guilder a head floor show. And it was a floor show for most of the rest of the week, as the race took to the roads of Holland and, true to national stereotype, got comprehensively clogged. In fact, the daily crashes threatened to turn the Dutch stages from a flat race into a steeplechase, putting a strain on even the best bike handling skills. After a long 3 days, the race finally entered France, much to the consternation of the local bovine population, who, if not completely mad, certainly didn't look too pleased. The Tour's own exhibitionist, Mario Cipollini, started the race in style and out of pocket, with a pair of illegal red shorts that got him fined. But as Italians tend to in big European competitions, he headed home at the end of the first week. The Czech Republic's Jan Svorada seemed to have been watching too much football as well, going down untouched on stage 4, and no German within 10 yards of him. The following day it was France against the USA, as Gilles Bouvard and Lance Armstrong squared off after a crash which claimed yet another victim, Gian Fagnini, forced to abandon with badly damaged hair.
Here we are then on the climb of Les Arcs now, and as you see, Udo Bolt has just been caught, and shooting by him is Laurent Dufaux, inspired by the fact that he has gained enough time now, if he can maintain it to the top, to become the new leader of the Tour de France. This has been an amazing day. At the top of the climb of the Cormet de Roselend, Stéphane Herlot, who's reported to have stopped twice on the climb, retires in the leader's yellow jersey. And he was understandably in tears, and I think he becomes the 12th rider in the history of this race to give up when wearing the maillot jaune. Then on the descent, the amazing surprises continued. Alex Zülle off our cameras was reported to have fallen, and then this happened to Johan Bruneel. What looked like a terrible accident as he disappeared off the edge of a ravine. Well, in fact, he came back up it, got back on his bike, and is continuing to chase at the moment.
It's going to be a tough climb, I think, over the last few kilometres, because the gap's starting to come down now on Laurent Dufaux. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds as they came under the 10-kilometre banner, and you can see Indurain, as always, coming up to the front, always omnipresent, and looking down there at Alex Zülle. He is suffering a little bit, but it looks to me as if he hasn't come out of those two crashes with too much damage.
Well, this indication showing us Bo Hamburg is the other rider alone on the road, chasing up to Laurent Dufaux. He attacked soon after the climb began. This group more or less regrouping here. The world champion Abraham Olano is in it as well. You might catch occasionally that white jersey with the colours of the rainbow rings on it. He's the man entitled, the only man indeed in any current season to wear that jersey of the current world champion. This is Laurent Dufaux of Switzerland, climbing to what would be the high spot of his career if he can take the maillot jaune by the end of this stage. Tomorrow the time trial, Paul, and this hasn't been anything like an easy stage today, so there'll be aching legs on the hills tomorrow.
Very tough. That bad rain and cold weather over the top of the climbs will affect a lot of the riders' muscles, and they will do their best to try and recuperate tonight. This is Bruno Roussel at the front, the team manager of the Festina squad, giving a last few pieces of advice to Laurent Dufaux, letting him know what the time gap is at the back here, and letting him also realize that if he can get his first stage, his first win of this year, it would also entail probably taking the yellow jersey.
What a way to get your first win of the season. And Dufaux is looking anything but a man who's getting tired. He's flying up at there at the moment. This is Bo Hamburger coming back into the sights of Garmendia, so he's done his job well. That leaves just two riders out in front now. And I don't think it'll be too long before we see Bolts.
Well, Bolts has been away for a long time since that attack after the cut, and then there's an attack going to come here, in fact, from Luc Leblanc, who's been quite active for all day, and he looked a little bit in difficulty over the top of the Côte de Roselend, but now he's in fact the man who's going clear.
And Luc Leblanc, who beat Indurain to the top of the climb of Hautecam a couple of years ago, just outside of Lourdes in the Pyrenees. We go down there as we start the last week of the Tour de France, so he'll be thinking of that climb then. Right now he's just thinking of getting up to the top of Les Arcs. The Tour de France finishing here for the very first time. Although just down the valley we have the ski stop of La Plagne, which has seen one or two great battles, not least that great defiance of Stephen Roche a few years ago.
Leblanc really did open up the gap there. He's only had one win this year, but that was a very good one in the Dauphiné Libéré at the top of the Col de la Bastille, which is a very tough climb. Miguel Indurain won the race overall, but Leblanc has proved that he's back. In fact, he's catching Bolts here, who's almost stopped and has got to try and just drag his body to the top of this climb now.
Well, Udo Bolts finished 9th in the Tour de France 2 years ago. He's an indifferent climber, but he's a great rider to stick to his guns. And he's being caught not too far from the summit, so he's not going to lose a lot of time unless he really has hit the wall. The big losers today, apart from our own Chris Boardman, of course, Laurent Jalabert. He lost time all day since he began the climb of the Col de la Madeleine.
Well, LeBlanc looks very comfortable here on this climb. In fact, just noticed when we look down there, you can see that he's using the largest chainring, which is quite amazing on a climb like this up to the summit of Les Arcs. He really must have a lot of power left. Looking back at the main group, you see the rest of the riders here are using the little chainring, so LeBlanc really is going for it.
Garmendia, Indurain, Indurain shadowing the Zula. Then behind in the blue is Tony Rominger. Behind Rominger, we have one of the Festina riders, I think Richard Virenque it is, yes, and then Luttenberger. And the little man in the blue jersey is Evgeny Berzin, the Russian winner of the Tour of Italy a couple of years ago, and now really making a serious challenge in this year's Tour de France.
This group really does contain all the main contenders of this year's Tour de France. Luc Leblanc a little bit down on the rest of them at the moment in the overall standings. He lost 3 minutes the other day when he went out of the back with a crash on that very wet stage down into Besançon. He'd like to try and recuperate a little bit of time. You can also see the strange style of Luc Leblanc, who looks a little bit twisted. He's had an awful lot of problems, had a couple of operations on his leg because he had an accident when he was a young child and ended up with a leg that was almost 5 centimeters shorter than the other one. And he's had some corrective surgery and now seems to be riding pretty well.
So less than 2 minutes covering the bunch to the leader, and still Garmendia is setting the pace. Indurain second. There's Tony Rominger, attacked by Luttenberger. Luttenberger has gone, and somebody's trying to go with him. I think it is in fact Virenque who's trying to go with him, and it is. Virenque, the new leader in the King of the Mountains after his great day in the Alps today, has gone after Luttenberger. A rider he might have been marking, because Luttenberger has quite a reputation, even though this is his first Tour de France.
Well, certainly everybody knows this is the man that can climb. He, just like Marco Pantani, they seem to pick up incredible climbers, the Carrera team, and Virenque must have been waiting for that. He does have to do this as a policeman in this situation, though, because his own man, Laurent Dufaux, is in the front. Look at the way he accelerated there, and Richard Virenque was in a good position. He wasn't boxed in. He knew that he could react to any attacks that came from any of the other climbers on this ascent. It's really man against man, everybody trying to get into their own rhythm, and Dufaux has been at the front of this race for quite a while now. He'll be starting to suffer, but he will think of the fact that if he can just hold on for 3 more kilometers, he can get a stage victory and possibly the yellow jersey.
But you're right, Paul. Look at the enormous gear that Leblanc is pedaling. He's still on that big chainring, and he's just so much strength as he goes on the 3-kilometer banner.
In fact, Radio in Tour telling us now that Indurain has been dropped from that group behind. It sounds as if he tried to go with Jan Ullrich, and they went over and extended himself, and in fact he's going out of the back of the group, and he's been dropped by this group, which still contains Tony Rominger. Bjarne Riis is in there. In fact, looking back down, there is Miguel Indurain. We have never seen this in the Tour de France.
Never. We have never seen this. And indeed, in this day of the Tour de France, we have seen just about everything over 20 years of racing. Zulaluk is also trying to go clear. Indurain dragging his heels for the first time since he won the Tour in 1991. Luc Leblanc, who crashed yesterday, is second. Laurent Dufaux, a man we've never talked about in the Tour yet, looks likely to be the race leader tonight. Riders have crashed all over the Alps. Chris Boardman is many minutes behind. The yellow jersey has retired. This has been an incredible day of racing.
In fact, now Luc Leblanc has caught Laurent Dufaux, and he's going ahead to lead the race. This race has been incredible this afternoon. And, you know, we said this morning that Indurain, he did not like the cold weather. He has this big problem with the cold getting into his muscles, because when he comes to the Tour de France, his body fat is so low, and the cold just goes right into those muscles.
Well, there is what is left of that little select chase group. As we're having a little trouble bringing you these pictures, remember, of course, that we use motorbikes who link up to helicopters. They've had very great difficulty today in finding their way around the Alps with the low cloud. Now, this is Alex Zula, and behind him is Miguel Indurain. The first and second in last year's Tour de France have now both been dropped by that group who rode behind them for many, many kilometers. And Indurain losing ground. We've never seen this before.
Looking now on the road at Laurent Dufaux, the race has split up completely.
So Dufaux second on the road now. Leblanc is first. Zula has been passed and dropped by Bo Hamburger. And a drink required by Miguel Indurain.
Well, this is an illegal maneuver as well. You cannot have a drink on the climb of one of the mountains. And in fact, if Miguel Indurain does take this drink, he must be in a disastrous state, and this is going to cost him something like $200.
$200 and a few seconds time penalty, possibly, for taking an illegal drink inside the last 20 kilometers of the race. And so, as Luc Leblanc passes under the 1 kilometer banner, Miguel Indurain and Alex Zula have been dropped by the rest of the group. And this is Indurain here in desperate trouble because he's now been dropped off the wheel of Alex Zula. Luc Leblanc is going to savour this. This has been an outstanding performance. He crashed yesterday. He's lost time ever since this tour began with crashes. Now he gets his own back. He salutes the crowd. It won't be a maillot jaune for him, but he's won the stage here at Les Arcs. So Luc Leblanc has won the stage indeed that has seen Miguel Indurain lose minutes before the finish. And that is absolutely amazing. Luc Leblanc salutes the crowd. He gets the stage victory. Last year, he lost the whole year because his team disbanded literally days before the Tour de France began. He was down and literally out. Now he's back, and he's back as a winner in the Tour de France. And Laurent Dufaux, for a long way today, was riding into the yellow jersey, but not now, because you can see the wheels of the riders trying to pull him back. They're trying to take off him even second place, but he's found the legs to try and hang on in the sprint and grab second place. He deserves it. Laurent Dufaux, and it looks as though Rominger's going to come at him, another Swiss rider. But I think Dufaux is going to get swept away by a fabulously finishing Rominger. Tony Rominger will get second place. He's taken inspiration by the fact that Indurain has been dropped from that group. Rominger, who's concentrated on the Tour de France, will feel he is now the man to win this tour. Tony Rominger comes to the line. He will get second place, and it might well be a yellow jersey will await him as well. The time will tell us that shortly. Rominger gets second, Lutemberger gets third, Verenk fourth, Dufaux fifth, and now Bjarne Riis comes in with Escartine, Berzin at the back of that little group. And this is the arrival of Alex Zula as a teammate. Garmendia brings him home. Zula crashed twice today, also in desperate trouble. Look at that time gap. Zula losing 3 minutes and 27, probably 3.5 minutes, 3:29. Zula loses today after 2 crashes, but it wasn't to Miguel Indurain he lost time. It's to men like Tony Rominger. And now Miguel Indurain is going to be almost 4 minutes. In fact, he's going to be more than 4 minutes behind Luc Leblanc. And this is unbelievable. He's lost all of this time in the last 3 kilometers or so of the final mountain of the day. Indurain comes up to the line. His day is over, but is his Tour de France? Well, only time will tell us that. But look at the time gap he's got to make up now as we continue through the Alps tomorrow. 4 minutes and 19 seconds down today. Miguel Indurain, I can't believe it. And here's the confirmation of the stage result. The French continuing their great Tour de France. Luc Leblanc, the stage winner. Tony Rominger coming in second place. Lutemberger taking third, then Richard Virenque, the new king of the mountains, he finished fourth. The new leader of the race is Evgeny Berzin from Russia. In the same time is the world champion Abraham Olano, and Tony Rominger is at 7 seconds. Plummeting to unfamiliar depths, Miguel Indurain, Laurent Jalabert, and Chris Boardman.
Patrick, you broke away early today. Can you tell me what your tactics were?
Yeah, just trying to open the race up for Alex, and you know, I just blew at the end, and you know, main thing is to make sure I'm at the front so that Alex can relax and not have to work at all, and you know, that was sort of worked out, just that didn't expect to lose that much.
So you think you ended up with egg on your face, so to speak?
Yeah, you know, I'm a bit tired and, you know, not going really as good as I should be, but it's the way it is, you know.
More of a learning experience for you?
Yeah, for sure, it's experience. I mean, when you suffer like this for every day, you just, you know, you learn and live another day.
Do you think this is the day when the tour really started?
Yeah, from now on, it's going to be the next 3-4 days going to be killers, and then rest day, and then, you know, see how we can recover a bit.
Every day is tough. You have to give the maximum. That's it. I'm satisfied. I did okay.
No. Is this the day when the tour really started, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's okay.
Patrick Jonker and Bjarne Riis, they're underlying the day's torturous events. And some of the experts here are claiming it was perhaps the most dramatic stage seen on tour in recent years. As for the face of Stefan Hulot, or the pain on it will long be remembered by those on the mountainside for many, many years. The Alps proving yet again what an unforgiving place they can be. Tomorrow, more mountains, no doubt more pain. When the tour continues, join us then. Good night.